Aliens and government secrets have been on our radar for the last several decades. Now, I'm Linnea Quigley, and you're watching Paranormal Truth. Let's peer behind that curtain and see what these visitors to our planet are doing.
Hello, my name is Patrick Allen, and this is Linnea Quigley's Paranormal Truth, a series of films where we delve into the paranormal world of the unknown. In this episode, we are going to investigate the world of the UFO. What is the connection between the U.S. government and so-called extraterrestrials? Where do they meet, and what is their secret agenda? Are we reverse engineering alien technology, and could that experimentation be going on right under our noses?
Do you indeed think that there is life on other planets? Do you think there's life on other planets?
Oh, I don't know.
Would you like to think about it for a second?
Oh, not really.
Tell me, do you think there is life on other planets?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I suppose there would be.
No, he seems definite. You seem
Definitely.
definite about it. How do you see this life and where?
Oh, I've seen a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes,
Where was
definitely. At Lane Cove,
When was this?
1953.
You don't think this is a figment of your imagination?
Several other people with me saw it.
You all had the same figment. What did it look like?
It was standing up there, still,
Just suspended in space?
with colours coming out of it.
Flat or on its side?
It was around.
And you think this was sent from another planet, do you?
I really do. Well, where else would it come from?
Do you think there's life on other planets?
Oh, well, I wouldn't like to even discuss that.
Why not?
It's a debatable point, I suppose.
What do you
but-
think yourself? You must have an opinion here.
Well, definitely not.
Not?
Not.
Well, what leads you to say that? Scientific investigation or...?
Well, only working off the theory of the Bible. Well, there's only one world, isn't there? And
But do you think that can stand up to present scientific investigation?
I think it
biblical
could.
creed? Do you think so?
I think
As far
it
as the
could.
universe goes?
Mhm. Definitely so.
In your opinion, do you think there is life on other planets?
No, I hope not.
Why do you hope not?
Because they'd be frozen to death.
Do you think there is life on other planets?
No, I'm German. Yes, definitely.
Why?
Yes.
What sort of life do you see up there?
Vegetable.
Do I think there's life on
Yeah.
other planets? No.
Why not?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't think we'll find anything when eventually we land on Venus?
I don't think we'll find life. But
What do
we
you think
might
we'll
find
find?
very interesting things, though.
Such as?
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't really say what as. I don't know. But I dare say it'll be something worth knowing.
I think there is life on other planets.
And how do you see this life? How do you visualize it yourself? Is
It's
it
rather
like this?
queer-looking people.
Queer-looking people. They're totally different from the people on Earth?
I suppose so.
Uh-huh. Would you like to get up there yourself and see it on Venus?
Not particularly.
Why not?
So I like it down here.
I reckon there is.
What makes you reckon that?
Well, I don't know, it's not imagination, it's just what,
You're being led by scientific discoveries, etc.
yes.
Yeah, well, how do you see this life? If you think there is life up there, how do you see it? What form do you think it takes?
Animal. Because we're animals, aren't we?
Well, some of it.
Yes.
Speak for yourself. How do you see them up there, though?
Oh,
I mean, the same as here? You think land on
no,
Venus will discover
no.
people like you?
No.
Totally different.
It all depends what atmosphere they're living in. I think it'd be an animal form, but I don't think it'd be like us.
You think that's a good thing?
Well, I don't know.
Would you like to get up there and find out for yourself?
Definitely.
Would you?
Too right
You'd
I would.
volunteer for this?
Too right I would. I'd like to be the first woman in space.
Do you think there is life on other planets?
Oh, I don't know. I don't.
Have you thought about this at all?
No.
Do you think there is life on other planets?
No French.
No speak.
I speak English. French.
Vous pensez qu'il y a autre vie de les planètes? Mars et Venus.
Oui.
Oui?
Oui.
C'est français, là?
Où ça là-bas, chez Mars? Je sais pas.
You want to think what?
There is life on other planets.
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
I wouldn't have a notion, would I?
Hey?
I wouldn't have a notion.
You haven't thought about this at all?
Oh, I've thought about it, but no, I wouldn't think there would be.
Do you think it would be a good thing for the Earth if there was life indeed up there on Venus?
I suppose competition's pretty good at any time, isn't it?
As many as 95% of Americans have at least heard of unidentified flying objects, and up to 57% think that they are real. Presidents Reagan and Carter reportedly have seen a UFO. Many private UFO organizations are found in the United States. Most are convinced that the U.S. government and the CIA in particular are engaged in a massive cover-up of the issue. The idea that the CIA is secretly concealing its research into UFOs has been a major theme of UFO buffs since the modern UFO phenomenon emerged in the late 1940s. In late 1993, after being pursued by UFOologists for the release of additional CIA information on UFOs, Director of Central Intelligence R. James Woolsey ordered an additional review of all CIA files on UFOs, using records compiled from the review. The study traces CIA involvement in the UFOs from the late 1940s to 1990. It chronologically examines the agency's efforts to solve the mystery of UFOs, its programs that had an impact on UFO sightings, and its attempts to conceal CIA involvement in the entire UFO issue.
Last October, in the quiet Mississippi town of Pascagoula, two local men confronted authorities with a rather bizarre story. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker told of a strange craft landing near their fishing site and of being taken aboard by three unearthly creatures. The two men were questioned under hypnosis and lie detectors, but their story remained intact. One of the men suffered a nervous breakdown and is still under treatment. Among the skeptics were Ralph and Judy Blum, already at work on a UFO book. With W5 last week, Ralph and Judy returned to Pascagoula.
Judy and I stumbled into this book. It came to us to be written. Suddenly we were in a wave of waves. UFOs were being seen across the country again. We were in what they call a flap. And people began experiencing things that they couldn't explain. Something was happening in our skies in the midst of Watergate, Agnew, the energy crisis, the Middle East. Something was happening and people couldn't understand what it was. We spoke about UFOs, but nobody really knew. And then it hit right here where we are. It hit Pascagoula. Charlie Hickson entered the news and we had a book to write.
Spaceship came with many blue lights, sat down near them in the night. Three little men came out and took him inside. They looked him over with one big eye. They say what they saw was real. They know they were the ones that saw the Pascagoula UFO.
We were sitting on the other side of the pier with our feet, over toward the river, fishing in the river. And the fish still wasn't biting, so I told Calvin, I said, well, we might as well go home. But I guess that was when I heard it. It was some kind of zipping sound. And when I turned around, in this area out here, about 40 or 50 feet out there, there was some kind of craft, it looked like it was going to come right onto the ground. But it came on down and hovered about a foot and a half or 2 feet off of the ground. We didn't know what to do, the river behind us and that out there not knowing what it was. So, and then before we had time to really do anything, it seemed like an opening appeared. Toward the end, it was, toward us. And the blue light, it had blue flashing lights as it was, approaching the ground, but then they went out. And when the opening appeared, some source of light came from the inside. It was just almost blinding.
Sheriff Diamond, can you tell me just what happened that night?
No, sir, I can't. All I can tell you is there was two men came into the sheriff's department approximately 8:30 and 9 o'clock. They were all excited, upset, wanting to climb the walls, hysterical, crying. That's actually all I know is what happened. As far as me seeing what happened, I don't know.
Of course, we could see them in the opening coming from, when it started out to craft. But
Did you think it was people coming out at first?
Well, they had. I kind of thought it was people at first, off like that. But of course, when they appeared there in front of me, it was the most shock I've ever had in my life.
What did you see?
Well, they were shorter than me. I'd say about 5'2" or 3", and they didn't have a neck. The head, it seemed to come directly to their shoulders. And it had something, it came out to a point about where a nose would be, and on each side the ears. And I believe that they looked like they were a little longer on the ears than the nose.
But still pointed the ears.
They were still pointing, yes.
But since I was down there, and since I was a physician, and several other scientists and investigators were asked to consult and look into the situation, I was asked if would I mind if I would be present, and I said I wouldn't mind at all. And while it is still very difficult for us to believe that a spaceship landed and that robot-type creatures came out and actually took these two people into the spaceship, these men, in my opinion, believe that they saw this and that they were being honest in reporting what they have reported.
But it seemed to me when they came out that doorway, or that opening or whatever it was, then just almost instantly they were right there on us. And their arms, they had arms, and I saw the arms moving here and in the shoulders, but they had webbed, I mean their fingers were webbed, and then they had something like a thumb, and they were like this.
We questioned them at length. And then we left the room and recorded all the conversation they had. Recorded between the two of them. And one of them kept wanting to pray. And he said, after all I went through on this earth, I said, why should I have to see something like this?
Calvin Parker, I was questioning him, and at one time he wanted to climb the wall. That's how nervous and how shook up he was.
They had me one on this arm like this, and on the other one, you know, they had my other arm like that. And I just seemed to lift up to the same height they were off the ground, and we just moved into the craft.
Now inside, how did they lay you out? Do you remember how it happened?
Yes. I didn't see any tables or chairs or anything in there. I'm not saying it wasn't in there because the light was almost blinding, but I didn't see any. And when they carried me inside, they seemed to just lean me back, you know. And this eye, well, I keep referring to it as an eye, and it moved up in front of me about this close. And it started right at my eyes, looking me right in the eye. And it hesitated there for a few seconds, and it just started moving over my entire body. When they brought me from the craft along this area here, and they didn't drop me, you know, they just released me back to the ground. And I fell. I don't know why my legs were weak. I don't know why it was the fright or what it was, but I fell onto the ground. And that's when I seen Calvin. He's standing right over here in this area, and he was standing facing the river with his arms outstretched like that, just like he was staring at something.
Can you tell me about the lie detector test?
Well, so that was run by Pilkington. Was it Pilkington?
Pennington.
Pennington.
That they run this type of test about 6 times a day. And when they were asked to come over here to talk to these people, they had in their mind that it was just a big joke. And if I understand it correctly, they ran one test on Mr. Hickson. The machine showed that he was telling the truth. Then they run another one. And then the examiner, he began to wonder himself. So he ran the third test, and he believed just what Mr. Hickson had told him.
Mr. Booth, tell me what happened that night in October.
Well, I got up and had turned off the TV and come to the front door, which you can see right behind me. Just as usual, checking to see if it was locked. So I looked out the window at the top, and naturally I saw this object above the street light out there. So naturally it caught my eye with the lights was on. I couldn't hear any racket or anything. So I opened the door after a few seconds to step out to see if I could really tell what it was. It just took off.
Can you describe it?
Well, it was round, had lights all the way around it, turning in a counter-clockwise motion. It had a dome on top with a bright light shining out through the top of it. To tell the actual figure of it or anything, you couldn't tell. You could just see the lights and the one on top.
When it happened to Charlie, the creatures, whatever they were, didn't communicate with him. Now, it's enough to say you saw a UFO to give you trouble these days in some towns. To be taken aboard is just a suspect idea. But somehow if the creatures don't give you a message, you're just a touch less incredible. And Charlie says that what he said and what we wrote about in the book, it was like they had a job to do and they came and they did it.
I think there has to be a reason why that Calvin and me was picked.
Maybe because you could take it?
Well, it might be. I don't know. I think that they know more of what's going on down here on this earth than we think. And I don't know, they might have been, you might say, looking for somebody that could, you might say, hold up under the strain and convince people that there is another world and there's some kind of life on that world up there.
They were the ones that saw the Pascagoula UFO.
What emerges from this examination is that while agency concern over UFOs was substantial until the early 1950s, the CIA has since paid only limited and peripheral attention to the phenomena. The start of the Cold War in 1947 between the United States and the Soviet Union also saw the initial wave of UFO reports. The first sighting of a flying disc within the United States came on June 24, 1947. When Kenneth Arnold, a businessman and private pilot, while looking for a crashed plane, sighted 9 flying objects near Mount Rainier, Washington. He estimated their speed at over 1,000 miles per hour. After Arnold's report, there was a flood of new sightings, including reports from civilian and military pilots and air traffic controllers all over the United States. In 1943, Air Force General Nathan Twining, head of the Air Technical Service Command, established Project Sign, initially named Project Saucer, to collect, evaluate, and distribute all information relating to sightings in the belief that UFOs might be possible and a national security threat. The Air Material Command Technical Intelligence Division at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, took control of Project Sign and started its work on January 23, 1948. Although at first suspecting that the objects might be Russian secret weapons, the Air Force soon concluded that UFOs were real and easily explained. The Air Force report found that almost all sightings stem from one or more of 3 causes: hoax and hallucination, mass hysteria, or a misidentification of known phenomenon. However, the report recommended continued military control over the investigation of all sightings, and did not rule out the possibility of extraterrestrial life among increasing UFO reports. The Air Force continued to collect and evaluate UFO data through the late 1940s under the new project, codenamed Grudge, which tried to relieve the public's anxiety over UFOs via a PR campaign designed to convince the public that UFOs were nothing unusual or extraordinary. UFO sightings were explained as conventional aircraft balloons, planets, solar reflections, optical illusions, media wars, or even large hailstones. Officials found no evidence in UFO sightings of advanced foreign weapon design.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. In pursuit of this obligation, since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports that have come to us from all kinds of sources. Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberration. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations that we now are attempting to resolve. Our basic difficulty in dealing with these is that there is no measurement of them that makes it possible for us to put them in any pattern that would be profitable for a deliberate, custom sort of analysis to take the next step. We have, as of date, come to only one firm conclusion with respect to this remaining percentage, and that is that it does not contain any pattern of purpose or of consistency that we can relate with to any conceivable threat to the United States.
Pascagoula, Mississippi. A small, laid-back town home to America's largest military shipbuilding company, Gulf beaches, and lots of seafood.
God, family, and fishing. That's what it is.
But this southern town was thrown into the national spotlight in the 1970s for a completely different reason.
My name's Calvin Parker. I'm 64 years old. I was abducted by something. I don't know what it was or where it was from.
Back in 1973, Parker had just moved to town to work with Charles Hickson.
Very first day at work, October 11th of 1973. We worked all day, got off work, he asked me, he said, "Do you want to go fishing?"
They went fishing on steel docks off the Pascagoula River, past a no trespassing sign, when he says the extraterrestrial happened.
And it was so bright it was blinding, and these lights was coming from inside a crowd. And then before we knew it, we both stood up and was already turned around and looking. It was three, I can't say where they was from or what they were, but it was like a robotic creature because they moved mechanically. And they got to us. Two of them got a hold of Charlie, one got a hold of myself. The very minute that they grabbed me, I felt an injection in my arm. They lifted us and took us aboard. This female-looking creature, she came out. Now, she had regular facial features, ears and eyes, nose. The only difference I seen in her than what we would, and if you think about it, look at your hands, these two fingers right here are longer, and they was just a little bit longer than ours on her. And she took this right hand and she run it up down the back of my throat. Well, I started choking.
He said the beings who took him made it known they did not mean any harm.
That's when they picked me up and they carried me out, set me back down by the river.
A story that dominated the front page of the Mississippi Press for over a week. UFOs were the talk of the state. NASA got involved. Police lines were busy 24 hours a day.
The Air Force, they spent their own money to come down here to investigate this and to talk to people and interview witnesses and things.
Hickson and Parker gave matching statements to police, passed polygraphs and lie detector tests. But one reporter wrote security cameras in the area showed nothing that night. Others questioned the legitimacy of the polygraphs. The spotlight was too much for Parker.
This happened in 1973, and I never, ever had told none of my family what happened.
He lived on the run, basically, from society itself because, of course, people thought he was crazy. We're trying to get air conditioners fixed around here. My name is Rebecca Davis. I'm the executive director for Main Street Pascagoula.
Over the past year, Davis helped connect Parker and his story to present-day Pascagoula.
In 1973 was a different age, a different time, and it was taboo. You didn't talk about stuff like that. People, I think, today are more open-minded.
Book signings, events, all with the support of the city and its mayor.
A lot of people that are interested in it that today
that weren't alive then and had not completely heard the story. People need to know about it.
Today, people are more open about their experiences.
After the incident happened, we went down there, me and my dad and mom went down to the place where it happened at. It's like a big old spaceship had landed, and it was just incredible. It was just freaked me out.
My dad had an unloading dock between the bridges where the aliens came. Well, he was on one side, they were on the other side.
Did he see the aliens?
No, he did not see the aliens.
Honestly,
but some of those guys on the shrimp boat might have if they'd have been smoking the same stuff.
After decades of hiding, Parker no longer lets his experience impact his life.
You kind of look to your left, that's about where the pier was. It's really hard to tell where anything is by now.
Do you ever come out here anymore, or is this...
Oh yeah, I fish here all the time.
That's awesome.
And that's the reason I come. I don't come to look at the side or to dwell on anything, because this is something you can't really dwell on. It would bother you a lot. I remember a time that I didn't want to come back here. I could care less.
The dock where it all happened is unrecognizable, but a new reminder was put in place this year, a permanent marker of a defining moment in Parker's life.
How does this make you feel when you see this here?
Well, I have mixed emotions. It makes me feel good that the city is admitting what happened.
Do you wish you would have told your story sooner?
No, I think I picked the right time to tell it, and I'll tell you why. If I had talked about this any sooner than what I did, the news would be wore off. And now I'm keeping the attention on it, and the people are a lot more conscious of what's going on.
Parker is simply searching for answers.
I'm just hunting answers for myself. Now, whether we'll ever find them or not, I don't know, but I'll go on my deathbed hunting.
With photojournalist Andrew Snadicki, I'm Chloe Nordquist reporting.
In the language of the U.S. Department of Defense, these are unidentified aerial phenomena, videos which add fuel to the belief of some we are not alone. The first incident was filmed off the California coast in 2004, an oval shape hovering, and in the words of the Navy pilot who recorded this, not behaving by the normal laws of physics.
Oh, that's no, is it? It's not. Well, if there's like anything, have a look on the
In 2015, pilots flying off the east coast of America spotted this.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
Again, its speed and movement apparently astounding experienced aircrew.
That is on us, dude. Well, if there's like anything, it's rotating.
That same year, racing across the surface of the ocean, something that it took some skill to capture. All of these videos have been leaked in the past, but the US government now confirms they are genuine.
Thank you for watching Paranormal Truth. I'm your host, Linnea Quigley.